Hey kids, Chris the Fan Man here, and I want to talk briefly about something I mentioned in a video the other day, and that is buying content in the form of graphic novels, collections, single issues, even if it's digitally from DC Comics, but buying them with the intentionality that will send a message to DC saying we will give you money, but we will not give you money for what you want us to give you money for. If you have listened to any of my videos before, you know I've kind of touched on this, but I think this is really the way, kids, to get DC to pay attention, because we can do all the complaining we want, but as long as there is that mentality of, yeah, I didn't like it, but I still bought it because I, quote, had to have it, unquote, we're not going to really ever see any kind of improvement. So today, of course, is New Comic Book Day, and that means that I went to the local comic book shop there and picked up Adventures of the Super Sons #1. The boys are back in town, and this is a phenomenal issue right here. I mean, this is everything we loved about the Rebirth, Superboy, and Robin adventures. It's tremendous. It's well done. There's a mark here on the back. I didn't know about that, but I have another copy of this. It starts out in a great way. I'm not going to spoil it or get very long, deep into this, but Superboy and Robin, John and Damian, they're fighting Superman's memorial statue that's been brought to life by a villain. And it's just such a great concept, and that's just where they start this great book. It is a 12-issue maxi series, sadly, and it is a story that takes place in the past. All right, so it is rendered moot. This wonderful storyline, at least, was rendered moot by the bringing on of Brian Michael Bendis to Superman, because he has his own horrible plans for Jonathan Kent and, of course, Clark Kent and Lois Lane and Superman. So go and pick this up, and then tweet that you picked this up. And be sure to include DC. Hit them up at DC Comics on Twitter. Let them know you're buying this, but you're not going to buy the Bendis stuff. That is what I'm talking about, sending a message. Enough of us do that, and enough sales go to this, which is everything that worked before they brought on Bendis. That, I think, will send a message. The other thing you can do to send a message is to buy collections or individual issues or trades of stories that are iconic portrayals of the characters pre-DiDio coming back. The way we're seeing, sadly, Wally West treated right now in the Flash War, what's coming with him in Sanctuary, the way we've seen Superman treated with the Man of Steel miniseries, and what Bendis is doing now in the main books. And so I went on vacation last weekend with my family last week and went to the local Books A Million out there in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and they have a discount graphic novel section. And I've checked that out locally, but they've never really had anything but crappy Marvel graphic novels, and so you can't even give that away. But lo and behold, they had some great stuff. And this is the Adventures of Superman digital series. When the New 52 hit, there was an outcry from iconic Superman fans. We really didn't want to read this New 52 nonsense, and so we clamored, we begged for something, and they gave us a digital series called Adventures of Superman. It was a digital first. These trades have been out for a while. They're not new, but this price, $5.97. So there was no way I wasn't going to buy this. I have some of the individual issues, and I have some of the digital individual issues, but I don't have the trades. Couldn't pass it up. Here's Volume 1, this beautiful Brian Hitch cover, a nice twist on the Superman breaking the chains, but they're these giant, they almost look like an oil tanker's anchor chains. This is a great piece. And inside this beautiful cover, under this cover, you'll find great art, great stories by people that don't generally work on Superman. There are some, I think, just timeless, iconic Superman stories in here by a number of artists. Let me throw some names at you if that floats your boat. You got Jeff Parker, Jeff Lemire, both just tremendous talents. Matt Kent, who we don't see much from anymore, Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning, Chris Samney, Michael Avon Oming, J.M. DeMatteis, Giuseppe Camuncoli, Sal Buscema, the legendary Sal Buscema. If you're old enough, like me, you remember who that is. We've got Yildiray Cinar, Tom DeFalco, Wes Craig, Rob Williams, and then Pete Woods. All of these I'm familiar with their work. Some of these names I'm not. But this is a solid, wonderful book. And so $5.97. I'm not saying you're going to find this at your local Books A Million, but you might. I'm sure the stock changes, but it's possible these have all been marked for clearance, and that is your gain. So pick this up, and then the other thing that I found while I was there was the volume 2 of this series, collecting more issues. Adventures of Superman, volume 2. Here's a great, I forget who did the art on this. Usually I can remember his name looking at it, but I can't right now. Oh, Chris Sprouse. That's Chris Sprouse, yeah. So we have, working in this collection, work from J.T. Krull. I can't read all these names because there's a big sticker on it. Mark Guggenheim, who I believe worked on Smallville. Joe Bennett, fantastic artist, man. Joe Bennett does some gorgeous stuff. Tim Seeley, a very good writer. Mike Norton, Sean Galloway, I believe also an artist. I could have taken the sticker off, I guess. I chew my nails, which is a disgusting detail of me you didn't want to know, but I'll have to take that off later so it doesn't damage the book. But more goodness. I mean, here is Superman fighting Titano and the Super Ape here. We've got some Brainiac stuff. All of the art is tremendous. And the stories, again, timeless, brief. They are not bogged down by any kind of continuity. Even though here you see kind of a New 52-esque Wonder Woman, it really isn't New 52, thank God. And this was an oasis in the time. Look at this classic Clark Kent and Lois Lane. So this was just a beautiful series that sadly got canceled eventually. But this is wonderful, and if you have them already, if you can find them at this price, to have them collected is great, but they would also make great gifts for the Superman fan or comic book reader in your life. And then the final edition, they had by the way, the second one here, $5.97 as well. So there was no way I wasn't going to buy that. And then Adventures of Superman Volume 3. And I'd been waiting for these, just putting aside buying them until I could afford to. And bam, here we go. That was done for me. This one's $6.97. I think it's a little longer. But look at this. This is gorgeous John Bogdanove art here. This was the cover to one of those digital issues. I think the last arc before they canceled the title. He did this wonderful cover, and he evokes, mimics in many ways, I prefer homage, the style of these past iconic Superman artists. Here you have a Kurt Swan. Here we've got more of a Wayne Boring. We've got a modern Superman, at the time modern, pre-New 52. Then we've got a Joe Shuster Superman, and then, of course, a John Byrne-esque Superman. So this is great. And some of the art in here, let me read some of the creators here. I mean, we've got, we've got Max Landis. I haven't read the story yet, but I don't know if it's terrible. But Ron Mars, who, even though I think he's a loon on Twitter, I love some of his work. Jerry Ordway, who to me is just legendary in art and writing when it comes to Superman. Steve Niles. You've got artwork by Jock, writing from Phil Hester, who I used to like on Green Arrow back in the day. Evan Doc Shaner, I mean, he's iconic. Steve Rude. So Steve Rude actually illustrates the story that I believe is drawn by the great Jerry Ordway. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case here. But so this is a great collection. Here is some of the Doc Shaner stuff. I remember when this issue came out, Superman's dealing with a robot that is very evocative of the Iron Giant, and so that is great. But I mean, it's written by Ron Mars, and it's Evan Doc Shaner artwork, so you can't go wrong here. It's just tremendous and iconic and timeless. That is the great thing about it. It's timeless. So you're gonna, even if you don't pay, if you pay full price, $16.99 is to me a steal for this great stuff. And they even say Timeless Tales of the Man of Steel. And the Joker's in here, if that floats your boat. It's certainly a good thing there, I think. So that was a treasure to find. So, one of these, $12.99. I think that was the price for all of them. Well, this one's $14.99. And the first one, I don't see the price, but probably also $14.99. This one's a little longer. So what a savings that was. So check your section for that. And then I couldn't believe this, because this is an older book. And I didn't realize maybe more recently it's been collected, but this, when I was a kid getting into comics because of Batman 1989, I read this in those ensuing years, and it really just made me fall in love with DC Comics and Batman and Superman in particular, and that is the beautiful David Gibbons and Steve Rude, Superman Batman World's Finest. Look at that cover. Oh my gosh. This is gorgeous stuff. Dave Gibbons, Steve Rude, and you've got Carl Kessel, who's tremendous talent as well, both writing and drawing. Steve Oliff, I think, is the colorist perhaps, or the inker. He did some work from probably Marvel and DC. I know the name. But this Steve Rude art is classic. It's beautiful. Look how Superman is in the light, Batman in the shadow. Gorgeous stuff. And I have these. I mean, I have the originals. They're over on my bookcase over there, my Superman bookcase. But to get them in trade was something I always wanted to do, to get them collected and very handy, easy to get to, and easy to read. But what really sold me was they had multiples of these for $6.97. So check your bargain section of graphic novels at your local Books A Million, because you might really find some treasures there. And even if it isn't those, or even if they're not on sale, pick a trade paperback that has the versions of these characters, whether it be Superman, Batman, whether it be Wally West Flash. Maybe, they've got the Mark Waid Flash collections. If you loved, Wally West is my Flash. And so if that's the case for you, these iconic versions of the characters where they were treated with respect, then buy those trades and then do what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on Twitter, I'm going to take pictures of these, and I'm going to tag DC Comics and Brian Michael Bendis and all these guys in there, Jeff Johns, and say, this is what I'm paying for. I refuse to buy the new stuff, but I will buy anything that evokes the style, or even not the style, but the respect and the quality of these stories. And so again, it's not saying we want what we read when we were kids. It's not about some kind of nostalgic quest. We want the love and respect that is throughout this. And I didn't show you the interior. God, I mean, if you've never seen Steve Rude's artwork, this is your introduction to Steve Rude right here. It is just, I don't know. I mean, look at his Joker and his Lex Luthor, and it's just gorgeous stuff, man. I mean, I don't know that there's anybody, when we talk about the greatest artists in comic book history, Steve Rude is on that list. Beautiful, just beautiful stuff, timeless stuff. And this trade also has some notes and sketches from Steve Rude, which is really great. And he understands these characters, and so too does Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons has done some great work. Of course, he's an artist himself. He drew Watchmen, but here we have a recap of the post-death of the Kents. I'm sorry, of the Waynes there. But look, here's Metropolis, right? I'm sorry, here's Gotham, and you see it in shadows, the sun rising. Even the sunrise is not really doing much for Gotham, right? Because it's Gotham. And then we see Batman in action here. Beautiful stuff. And then when we jump over to Metropolis, look at the gilded city. Gorgeous and shining and golden, the sunrise and the doves. I mean, this is the kind of just iconic, beautiful storytelling you don't see anymore today. So pick these up. Pick up anything that is going to send a message, but don't just buy it and then go home and read it and enjoy it. Take pics. Even just maybe just write it on a tweet. You don't have time to take a picture. Let the DC muckety mucks, the higher ups, know this is what you want more of, and so you're not going to spend money on their new crap. You will buy this. So kids, that's what I found. Go digging, treasure hunting. I hope you find some great stuff there. The Books A Million that I went to in Arkansas, which is not like, I don't know if this is the new norm, but they had back issues. They had rows and rows of long boxes with back issues, Marvel and DC, and they're pretty good prices. I was very surprised. That may be something they're doing now. Go check out your local Books A Million. And of course, if you can find this kind of stuff at your local comic book shop, do it there first, because we need to support them before we support the big stores. But if you're not able to do that for whatever reason, go and buy these. Let DC know. Hey, thanks so much for watching. More content coming tomorrow. Stay super.